Here on Guilty by Association's podcast, we are shedding light on life experiences from our own guilty flaws, lessons learned, and still learning as men and taking a positive outlook from negative circumstances. Blended with tackling hot topics impacting us and our communities today, GBA is about making moves. We will be diving deep and shedding light on important social issues that keep you in motion. So come take a ride with us through this thing called life, with exciting discussions and interviews that will be brutally honest and fun. As you enjoy, remember that you will be guilty by associations.
I used to think that the worst thing in life was to end up all alone. It's not. The worst thing in life is to end up with people that make you feel all alone. Robin Williams. Go. All right, fellas, what's going on? Back in here. Well, I guess we're back in here. I'm, just to reintroduce myself, I'm Alexander.
I'm Big Mike.
Building.
I'm El Boogie.
So here we are back for part 2 for our Black men and mental health. Part 2. I guess last time we chopping it up. We was talking about emotional, all that fun stuff, and I thought we dive a little deep on that one. I figured today we try doing do the psychology and the social aspect of mental health. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Let's finish that up.
I'm ready.
You ready?
Happy New Year to all our supporters and listeners too.
No doubt. Man, it's been I think last time we got together, it was right before Christmas.
Yeah, it was.
You know what I'm saying?
It was.
Yeah, so look, I know we already been chopping it up, but anyway, Happy New Year, brothers. You know what I'm saying? Happy New Year on the air.
My man, good seeing y'all again. Ain't see y'all since last year.
And now we back in here on MLK Day, and then we got two. So the first 2 shows are on 2 special days. We pop in on MLK. Well, you know what I'm saying? That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
We got a new president coming Wednesday, so
yes,
hopefully, don't be no riots.
yeah.
Keep your fingers
Exactly. That's actually kind of it's kind of fitting to what we plan on talking about with the whole psychological effect to mental health as well as being social wise. So I guess we jump right on in. Y'all ready to jump in?
We're ready.
Jump in, answer. All right. Well, listen. Question I came across thinking about when we got into the psychology of mental health. One of the things I think we get caught up or think about as we getting older. I'm still considering myself a young man up in here, but but relationships is one of the first things I thought about. And I actually, let's take it back to being young, being a youth. And I think we talked last time a little bit in emotional. We was talking about how the whole man up phrase. Do you think that's something that is kind of haunting our community as we used to when it comes to kids and being kids? I remember being young ourselves and hearing that phrase "manning up." Is that a good thing, bad thing? Is that something? Because when I think of the manning up, I think when I've heard it said, it was like people were saying it more from the perspective of like the person may grow out. This kid gonna grow out of it. He gonna grow out of it. He'll be all right. You know what I'm saying? Or do they need some mental help? Do they need some some help? What's your thoughts on that?
Oh man, me not being a parent, that's very tricky for me. I know y'all will probably look at it a little bit differently. Some stuff it needs to be handled, at the adolescent's age or at the kid's age, or y'all are probably going to be able to speak on that better than me. But I mean, if I look
think about you growing up, take it back.
If I reflect on myself, though, there is some things I grew out of. I was, abusing certain stuff. um,
Abusing.
activities. Kids, if you're
Yeah,
listening, just say no, or
Oh, you dibbling dabbling.
drink responsibly. Um,
right,
some of that I outgrew. I remember, like, being young and like, man, forget, I don't feel like going to work today, because I ain't
mm,
really had no responsibilities during
Hmm.
that
right,
time. But I guess we'll get a little bit deeper as time goes on, but they are some stuff from your childhood that can still affect you until you're an adult. Like, I've
right,
heard cases how people have saw their mom might have got abused,
yeah,
and they end up abusing their wives. Or I've actually know people personally, they always seen their father be a serial cheater. So they felt like it was normal for them to cheat when they got in relationships. So
right, right. So that seeing the cheating for as a youth that can, and not saying you, that's just kind of like saying where the psychological effect could affect them when it comes to relationships as
yes,
they getting older. Yeah,
definitely.
that's real.
What about you, Elbug?
Yeah. Obviously, whether it be well, we can. I'm gonna talk about it two different ways. I'm gonna talk about myself and the standpoint of children. So myself, real briefly, and Alexander knows my history a bit, so I could say, for example, my
You in the
youth was
building?
wasted on the youth. There's this term: the youth is wasted on the youth. I really wasted a lot of years with foolishness. Now I can
Yeah.
definitely admit
True,
that.
true that.
Now skipping ahead to my children,
And
or
you're not alone, brother. You're not
yeah,
alone.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I'm not judging myself for just you gotta learn from experience. But
Mhm.
like for my children's example, or a child that I raised, let's say, well, the males, let's say. Um, in certain aspects, I think the man up phrase is a good phrase because it depends on
Mm,
what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You don't want your kid whining and crying because he can't tie his shoe. And
mhm.
like the end of the world. I can't tie my shoe, and he throw a fit, fall on his back. In public places, and I ain't playing that. But but in regards to the manning up, in regards to the mental health, I think it's detrimental to utilize that term when that
And that
child.
manning up that manning up could be boy and girl too. I mean,
Right,
really,
correct,
you could say
correct.
right.
Yeah, I'm sorry to elaborate on that. Yeah, it could be boy or girl because once you identify, maybe your child is doing this consistently or nonstop, and it might not just be a phase. It could be, but
Mm-hmm.
in order to encourage your child, you really want to nurture your child. As I learned, you get better results by offering honey instead of vinegar.
Right.
So not saying you want to spoil them, but you do want to find out what makes them tick, and by finding
Mm,
that piece of the puzzle, you can get a better relationship with your child. So yeah, sometimes that man up term could work for the boy or the girl, but you got to find out what the root problem is. And like you said, Mike, which is a good example, some things are hereditary. They might see something that is kind of thrust upon them, so that now that they're doing the same thing. Maybe I did, or their mom did,
mm,
or whoever their caregiver is. Their grandmother. It's a lot of, especially in our community. It's a lot of broken families, so that the grandmothers are raising the children, or whoever's available as a family member. So I think it's really a term that is, it could be slightly helpful, but not, it could be detrimental once you identify a problem with your child. So I think
right.
really you need to identify what the problem is, if it's actually a problem. Because if a child is going between the ages of 5 and 11, let's say, just throwing a number up, and they're
Right.
doing the exact same thing, that's not a phase. That's a problem. That's a trait. That's something that needs
Right.
to be
Right.
researched.
Right.
You know,
Right. Right. And we not experts in here, but I mean that just
uh,
yeah, but
I got some kids, so I know if they keep doing the same thing over and over. Talking to their mom and say
and-
something wrong with that one. We gotta get some
yeah,
help for that
yeah. And so you think that sometimes I think in our community we kind of use, and I guess it can go across all communities, but definitely in our community, the Black community, we have a tendency to use that as a scapegoat from getting that root of trying to find out the root of their problem. We just use that as an excuse to be like, yo, just man up, right?
one.
Yeah, it's very dangerous though, because I think a lot of times we won't taught, how do we release? How do we deal with some of these issues? I mean, I
And
don't know
like you
about
said, man,
anybody else. I gotta talk to somebody sometimes of stuff that I'm going through.
right. And like you said, Mike, it carries on. And I'm a matter of fact, as we talking about, I'm thinking about it. I'm a product of what you just said earlier about. I remember hearing that phrase "man up" a lot. Just being, growing up in the city, you just hear from your boys and all that, this and the third, family members, whatever. And I still carry that on as an adult. So what happens sometimes we wind finding ourselves as adults still holding a lot of stuff in because we want to man up, even as grown men. We already a man, and we still holding on to the man up phase.
Right,
You know
right.
what I'm
I mean, you don't
saying?
want to be considered soft. That's a
Right.
terminology you want to be the opposite of as a man, anyway.
But it,
Yeah.
then it but then it prevents us from what the whole purpose of us discussion of this podcast is about the mental health, about that heartens us that prevents us wanting to, or that prevents us from reaching out to get the help that we should get
I
even as
was
adults.
I was just watching this show on Netflix. It's talking about the crack epidemic, and
Yo, that was hot.
this one
I
drug
got to
dealer,
see that.
he was saying that he had to play the role of being so hard. He would go to the clubs and he would want to dance, but he couldn't dance because he knew other people's looking at him and they was like, well, he's showing emotional. That looks like a weakness. He said
Mm-hmm.
he would find, even he'd be around his friends and they would joke and it would be so funny, but he would say he just could do a little snarl because him laughing. I'm
Remember they
like,
had that. You remember they had that queen pin. She was the same way. Remember she was saying she
yeah,
had
they
to be
had to
harder
be.
than. Yeah.
It was just like, man, I gotta
Yeah.
be me, man. If I can't live, that life is not for me.
Well, they always say. Go ahead. My
No, I
fault.
was gonna say that's interesting because if you notice this from that example you used from watching that show, by you suppressing your emotions, what we talk about going back to emotions, psychologically it can affect you. You
It
know,
all ties
Yes,
together. It all ties
it all
together. You
ties
know what I'm
together.
saying?
So if you're
yes,
suppressing yourself, you're not being who you're supposed to be, it can affect you. You can actually go a different route. You can, turn mean, you can get depressed. It's a lot of different things, because like you just said, and I think between the three of us, I think we all want to be who we want to be. Only
yeah,
time that you will probably curtail that is that when you maybe in a work environment, so you don't have to
Right.
be put on the professional status. But
Right.
being yourself,
Right.
other than that, well, now if you're a drug dealer though, that's something different.
Well, that's like I remember. I don't know if it was. I might have been one of our other conversations off air or whatever. But I don't know if I got it from our conversation. But I think somebody mentioned about how comics are good on. They say like comedians are good on like putting the mask on. They use comedy to hide
Mhm.
their
yes,
imperfections and their insecurities. And that's why I think comedy um, is really important in our community. Is because that's another outlet, right, for mental. Because a lot of times they're
yeah,
saying the things that we're really feeling. They're expressing those same issues that we have on stage. So
yeah.
yeah.
It's a getaway from. I mean, it's like Jordan used to say. The only time he felt free was when he was on the court. So he
Mhm.
said
Mm,
that's why he was able to. That was his getaway. So that could
right,
have played
right.
into a part of why he was so good because he probably was good on the court, but other
Mm,
aspects of his life, he probably wasn't so good. But I ain't gonna go there though.
right, right. We're gonna get MJ, legend. Yeah. So, so El, my fault, man. We both been starting the show off, man. Congratulations, man, on baby girl going the first one tying the knot, dog. Congratulations, dog.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm gonna give myself a round of applause on that. I'm gonna give myself
Yes.
a round of applause with all the foolishness, as I mentioned earlier in life, that I probably wasted time doing stuff. I can say that's a definite uh, star, as they say, or something that's a plus in my heart. My
Mm,
firstborn, married.
mhm.
It was something to behold, man. Never
Right.
something
And
great.
that brings in another question, staying, on the psychic effect of mental health. And I think I think we was all talking, off air, the other day. We was talking about when we were preparing for the show. We was talking about how, the wedding effect of, you know, the whole COVID, the pandemic. And so you are actually like the first person I could say I know that, my peoples that I did a wedding virtually. So how was that experience? And of course, being married and remember the big wedding day and all that fun stuff. Was it just as intimate, or how was that like? When could you express that? Did it feel
Yeah,
the same?
it did not feel the same as far as a normal wedding per se to a
Mm,
COVID wedding. It was more intimate, obviously. It was 10 people max. That was one thing. So that was a key factor. So it was more so that it was funny. It wasn't like we just sat there and waited for other people to do it. We were the 10 people to actually, had to move stuff around. There were people that cater to bring food in, but we had to make sure people were out of the building while they were bringing food in to keep the 10 person max. But
right.
honestly speaking, it was more intimate. It was a Zoom wedding. It was cool, but as we discussed after the wedding, which was funny, my daughter was saying, "Can you imagine if all those people were on the video, which was like 300 and some change,
Mm-hmm.
if they all was present here, how stressful that could be, running around hugging people and taking
Mm-hmm.
pictures and this, that, and the third. And it's a joyous occasion. No, no, don't get me wrong. It is a joyous occasion, but
Right.
her and her husband both kept saying over and over again, "Man, this is what I wanted. This is cool." As they saw the lights dim outside, coming inside of the establishment, and all the candles were lit, music playing, people get a chance to know one another. So it was
Mm-hmm.
less stress as far as
Right.
getting to know one another. Now we still had to be conscious about the fact that it was still COVID. We had to socially distance ourselves at the tables. We had like 8 foot long tables side by side. So it was
Mm-hmm.
an adjustment, but it gave you an appreciation for the fact that what the marriage is.
Nice.
The marriage, what you're gonna do after this day. So it wasn't like everybody was going crazy. You hear about the crazy weddings, people got flowers and birds popping out of cakes and all kind of stuff, or all the horror stories of stuff going wrong during the wedding. Everything went well. Everybody had a good time. We had plenty of food, and the main part of it was less draining in my perspective. To be honest, I think it was kind of like as my daughter said, it was kind of unique because when they took a picture with the whole crew with the masks on, I thought that was gangster. They had all the people in
Right.
with the masks on. I was like, oh man, I
Yeah.
couldn't get in that picture. They was just the wedding crew. I wanted to get in that. But I
Right.
thought that it was interesting, that they put the value of the wedding on it more so than in the event because you
Right.
don't want because as we all know from being married, you put a lot of stress and strain. You could be like, oh, I just can't wait this to be over. Instead
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
I
So you
want
still
to
had the you still
enjoy.
had the you still had the bridezilla. You still was able to have bridezilla a little bit too, even if it was virtual. You still get the
Yeah,
bridezilla
you still
experience.
get a little bridezilla with it. I'm proud to say she might have had like one quirk, one snap, nothing out of the ordinary. I'm her dad,
Mm.
so I don't pay enough attention to that mess. But it was fine. I mean, obviously, at any given time, depending on, but once again, the bridezilla effect or what happens with that is when somebody is looking more so at the event, more so than the ceremony. Because really the wedding is about you getting married. Everything else is for everybody else. To be honest, it's just kind of like a showy display. But it was real chill. I truly enjoyed it because she was happy, the weather was good, but I could see the difference between psychologically a COVID wedding. It could actually ease your, to me, it would ease your mind compared to a normal wedding because
Right.
so many factors could go wrong on a normal quote unquote wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's this and that. Look, you got 10 people,
Yeah. Less is the stress then.
less
Yeah. Less
stress,
is
and
the
then
stress.
everybody who was
Yeah.
there actually played part in the wedding. So that was
Right.
what was
Right.
cool. So
Right. It
everybody
was
showed
like
love. I got a chance
right.
to mingle with her new in-laws. So her family got the chance to check out what her new family is,
Right.
and it was
Right.
cool. It was
The
cool.
best
Gave gave
man, the
gave.
best man say his speech.
Nah, the best man didn't say his speech. The two young men, I ain't gonna lie, man. They all they did was smile the whole time, man. Them cats were just
Right.
smiling
Right.
and
That's a
smiling.
good sign, though.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
smiling,
Yeah.
and my daughter was smiling nonstop. Everybody was smiling, you know.
Yeah. Awesome,
And I
man.
got my
Yeah.
George Jefferson on. You know how you get that little walk. I was
Yeah,
Yeah.
doing my
yeah.
thing the whole
Yeah,
day.
yeah, and you got you to shed some tears too. You know what I'm
Yeah, man,
saying?
that was a given. Yeah, that was crying left and right.
That's good, man. There's nothing wrong. It's good. That's part of sharing your emotions, man. You know what
Hey,
I'm
man,
saying?
Well, I mean, the inside joke of my family is like, when is he gonna cry?
Yeah, that was
they was
you know
outside.
I had I was in on the wages too. I was
Yeah, I know
talking,
you was in on it. I don't know who won what, but yeah, I was crying off and on. I did my part. I did my part.
That's right. That's right. So speaking of that, and it's funny you mentioned about had opportunity to mingle with the in-laws and things of that nature. So the other point that came up is about or thought or question. What are your thoughts on the effects, I guess, psychology of having developing new friends, new relationships, things of that nature, like you know, or as at our age, is it important to still have a lot of friends? Is it do you this is when you start, I know I look at it as I'm not trying to even get no new friends. I'm just trying to maintain the ones I have. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I mean, is it like that as we get older, or
Wow. It's a great question for me because I was actually I'm Army brat. I was actually raised overseas till I was 10 years old. So I moved a lot as a kid. Um, Even where I went to high school at, I was only stayed in that area for 4 years. So
Mm,
I had to constantly meet new people, meet new friends, and but at this age, I gotta agree with you.
right?
I don't want to go through meeting a lot of new friends. And I mean, allies is cool and networking and associates.
Mm,
And as this show grows, we're going to need those connections and stuff
right,
like that.
right. That's
You
right.
know,
That's
Like
right.
that
I take.
plug.
I receive it.
Like
I
that
like. That's
plug
right.
right there.
That's right. That's right.
yeah,
Blow it up.
we're gonna need that support. But but I agree because I mean, like y'all, man, I have friends that have multiple personalities and
Right.
just you never know when somebody gonna change on you too, man. You might be
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
let them in your
Yeah.
home, and next thing you know, especially with social media, next thing you know, they posted on Facebook like, yeah, they had meatloaf the other night, and his his
Right.
girl came in, didn't know I was downstairs, came in with something inappropriate, and you'd be like, well, dang. So
Yeah. 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 I think when I think of relationships and stuff like that, it's like just like you said, we're just trying to maintain the ones I got, right? And of course, being self-employed or um, you get to meet people all the time. So I've always had different lanes when it came to friends where it was like my boys, then it would just be people I knew of. And then
yeah,
I had friends, and then I had people I knew of, and those are
yeah,
kind of the lanes I had to, especially for the kind of business I was in or that I am in, is that you meet people all the time. So you got to kind of divide people up in a sense, you know what I'm saying? So I got
yeah,
my family, you know what I'm saying? L Boog in the building, got our family, you know what
yeah,
I'm saying? But then we got, Mike, Big Mike is in the building coming in and becoming family. We got friends, then we got people we know of, and a lot of times those are customers and stuff like that. So I've always been conscious of that when it comes to friends. I don't I like to think I don't meet a stranger. Or at least my wife says that. She said, everywhere you go, you know somebody. So but I like to talk. I like to talk to people. So I don't. So that's just me. So El, what are your thoughts on friends as you getting older, getting wiser,
What you just said,
becoming
your
wiser?
last comment about everywhere you go, you know somebody. I'm in a similar boat. I know my kids used to say it all the time. Man, I don't care where we go. I've been to Virginia with my kids, and I pop into people. Like, oh,
wow,
Right,
well, you know this dude. Hey,
right,
man,
right.
don't worry about all that. I just know people. But as I get older, I think, to be honest, man, my circle's getting smaller.
yeah,
When you say friends, and like, cause a friend to me, I, like your boy said, Vin Diesel in that movie, I don't have friends, I have family. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
how I compare. My friends have become my family. Like
yeah,
when I introduced my blood brother to my boys, like Alexander and whatnot.
mm.
I said, yo, this is my family. So it's an unspoken word. He understood exactly what it was, and now he's family. We
You
all
outgrow people too. I mean,
right.
mm,
Yeah,
I
mm,
mean,
that's the
mm,
cold hard truth, man. That's the cold hard
mm.
truth.
yeah,
Because
you
I
outgrow
know some
people.
cats from '97 still doing
Mm-hmm.
'97 stuff.
Yeah, same
Yeah,
here.
They
yeah,
still got the same haircut, they still got the same clothes on, they drive the
Yeah,
same car, they got the same problems. Then I
yeah.
mean, I'm no better than you, but then I sit and look at them and say, I'm better than you. You ridiculous.
Right.
yeah, man. I mean, man, how many parties How many drinks
Right.
we gonna throw down? I mean, I like them times too, but man, I can't do it every weekend, every day. I mean, I can't still, much as I love women, I can't be chasing them. I got
Right.
bills to pay.
Right.
I want to retire good too. I don't want to
Yeah.
be,
Yeah.
still like, how am I gonna pay these bills? And
Right. Right.
And being a good friend too, man. I know for certain, you know, we all probably in the same boat. I burned some bridges. I know I burned
Mhm.
some bridges, so I probably got cut off as a friend. And I saying like I'm the best friend on earth, but at
Right.
some given point, I probably got cut off. Which
yeah,
is fine, which is fine because
yeah,
you gotta learn, like you said, you gotta learn from that. You gotta grow. Sometimes growth comes through pain, like I say, growing pains.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
I
I'm not one of
somewhat, got cut off. That kind of happened to me, even though I can um probably squash some stuff with a phone call, but then I say to myself, do I really want to even go back? And then sometimes when so much time passes by, you say to yourself, is it ever gonna be the same? So,
those.
Mhm.
and you
Mhm.
gotta ask yourself questions too. Have you grown since you've been away? It's just like any relationship. Have you grown since you've been away from? Are you doing better?
Right.
I
Right.
mean,
Right.
did they a lot of times you notice a lot of stuff when you take a step back.
Yeah.
So
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do they add to? What do they bring to the table?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So I,
sometimes, you're not really missing nothing.
true. Yeah,
And
Mhm.
that's
like you
true.
said, it's not about being better than anybody. It's about, as I get older, I'm learning too. Selfish ain't all that bad.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
not
Right.
it's not all
Right.
that bad of putting your family first and putting yourself first. And
Yeah.
I,
Yeah. And that selfish is more focused, in the sense what you're, in the way I would say it's like more focused. So
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
know
definitely.
what? That's true because I know when Alexander got, we're gonna say missing. The boy said, "Oh, your boy at? Where your boy? Where's your boy?" He handling his business. So he was probably the first of the crew that just chilled and just started handling his grown man business. So and I'm older than him. And I said, "Yo, this dude, man, he's doing his thing."
Right. Right.
You know,
Right.
but as a friend, you will encourage that. You will not look down on that guy, thinking he's acting funny styles or anything like that. Let him do his thing. We circle
Mhm.
back. And
So
then
now, how would that go with like? So that, I mean, the same rules applies even when it comes to relationships, right? The dating and stuff like that. Same thing applies
Mm,
when it
who's
comes
that
like to
question?
like to relationships. You see what I'm saying? The same rule, same mindset applies to like with your homies. The same thing with like your significant other, right? Is that the
I,
same
I would
approach?
I would think so. I mean, I don't know. Me personally, whenever I try to rekindle a whole relationship, it never works. So
Right, right,
it'll be
right.
beautiful that first months or two, and then it's like, okay, I see why we broke up now. So
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. What about like so what about remarriage mindset? What about that? Do you
to
think that
who?
affect?
To who? You gotta clarify that. What are you talking about? Hold on now.
Let's say though, since you jump first, I mean, we talk. What's your thoughts on marriage, man? You know what I'm
Or
saying?
what?
Being divorced. What's
Oh,
your
okay.
thoughts on marriage and remarriage? What's your thoughts on that? Since we gonna go there.
This it's beautiful. It's beautiful, man. Don't put yourself in a bubble. Don't
Mm,
shut yourself off from the rest of the world. If you had a bad relationship, um, they're not gonna say it's another fish in the sea. All the cliche type stuff. But no, don't close your mind towards that. Because I mean, everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants to be around somebody who loves them. But I mean, don't force the issue. But remarriage,
right.
yeah, I'm with that. I'm with that. I mean,
Yeah.
am I with that right now? No, I'm not with that right now.
Right.
My mind is not even thinking about that right now. But
Right.
people who are in that relationship, who had a bad marriage, or maybe they're widowed. It don't have to be
Mm,
a bad marriage. Maybe
right.
something like
Right.
that happened.
yeah,
Right.
So don't close
Because
yourself up.
we are getting older where that's starting to happen. Unfortunately, still going back. I guess that's more like physical health, but still mental health too. Where as a community not taking care of ourselves, and we get into that age where you starting to unfortunately see people,
Yeah,
passing away. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
So that widow thing is that next level
Yeah,
for
Yeah,
what's out
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
that can be a scary thing. I mean,
mhm,
like y'all both know, my mom just became a widow, so it's like, as a man now, I got to step up, be there for her, and
right. Mhm,
I couldn't imagine, she was married longer to my stepfather than my actual biological father. So I say
mm,
to myself, man, how do you function when you've been with somebody that long and you
mm,
basically had a good marriage and you
yeah.
just don't know the cards you're going to be dealt with when you wake up that day. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
so
and that kind of, I guess, this kind of got us leaning over. I guess we're making good time here, leaning over to the social aspect. I was going to say, like, what the effects of the, like, pandemic on the psych on the mental health as well. Like, you saw, unfortunately, we glad we got 2020 behind us, but you saw a lot of
a
relationships.
lot of
You
breakups,
know,
man.
well, my
yeah,
boy Murder wrapped up 2020 real good. I think you caught me playing a little bit of that earlier, Mike. Big Mike.
Yeah, yeah, man.
So
I've
a
known
lot of
some.
relationships. Speaking of relationships, that suffered during the pandemic.
Yes,
You
it
know.
did.
yeah, they
There's
fucking
some people that,
outkill one another 24/7.
man, there's some people I know that are good people that, wow. I mean, I just don't. Y'all would be able to explain it more than me, but it was just hard for me to understand. Like, you mean to tell me y'all really didn't know each other? I mean, y'all been
Mhm.
married that long, and now you're discovering things, and
Mhm.
it's
Yeah, yeah, it did. It put a lot of strain on some couple. I know me personally. I mean, the pandemic definitely mentally had an effect on me, especially being an entrepreneur and of course working and things of that nature, and used to being on the grind. But it actually, in a funny way, it's been a blessing that I was able to still keep functioning. That it actually turned out to be a good thing for me, where it gave me time with my family. Because I
Mhm.
do so much by always being on the road, on the move. You know, it gave me the quality time that I needed. It was for me to take away from it was like during this pandemic I got a chance to know my kids where they are now, right?
that's good.
And that was, I didn't realize that there was actually a gap there because I was always on the go because I take my kids to school every day. We have our conversations. I talk when taking them to school. Then when I get most time when I get home after running one business and this business and get home, they're going to bed. So I didn't realize how limited our conversations were, and so you know it was great for me, man. It gave me a chance to really talk to them, laugh with
Think
them, get to know them, and then my wife. It was just I told her and I told her right from the beginning. I said, I don't know if this is gonna be the end of the world, but my mindset was I'm gonna enjoy my family to the end. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? I mean, we knew it was coming. I'm just joking, but I'm just saying that I refused to allow the pandemic to be an example of the pandemic, straining my marriage or my family. I was gonna enjoy my family. I'm
I
gonna enjoy
thought it
this
was
time
gonna
together.
make. I'm glad that worked out for you because honestly, I thought that was gonna be like that with a lot of relationships. I thought lot of relationships, people was gonna become closer. I
Nah,
thought
Mhm.
you
I
catch
thought babies was gonna end up being made more.
there was
You
more baby.
know,
They were wilding though.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a baby boom too. I seriously, I did too. I'm with you,
but
Mike. I was with
but
that.
but my heart goes out to the single parents, man, who
Yeah.
have to work and their kids, man. I mean, they have to learn from the computers and
Mhm.
the virtual learning and
Oh, it was tough. Now, don't get me wrong.
man.
And going back to kids earlier, this pandemic definitely affected the kids as well. Made them lazy. Some made them lazy. Some made them, and then leaning over. I guess the psyche and social, how all of these kind of all mesh together, right? Because even socially, you wanted them back in school because you didn't want them, especially if you were like you said, a single, no, just not even single, just a
Parent.
yeah, you're a single child. You don't have a sibling, and so that's that social you missing as
Mm,
well.
yes.
And so, um, as much as you don't want them to go to school, but you want to keep them safe and protected, but then they need it. They need
The
you know
interaction. Yeah.
that interaction. You know what I'm saying? And that was sometimes called, at least from from what I've noticed from my perspective, it seemed like the kids were doing stuff because they had a lot of built up, energy. They needed to be out. They need to be around that structure. They need to be around, having, other kids to play with. They needed that. And so, and as a parent, and if you're grinding and they got all this energy pent up, that's a recipe for an
Disaster.
explosion,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
You know, and but then you got the anxiety of you don't want to put your kids out there. What people gonna think about you protecting your kids, letting them go to school, and are they talking behind your back? Somebody can't believe he letting the kids go back to school, or
Yeah.
So it was just with all that going on, but then still trying to maintain a relationship. It can be hard, but it was, to me, it was so worth it in a weird way. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but it was still, I still enjoyed it. That's a
That's a
better
good
way.
thing, man. I mean, because honestly speaking, that's what family is about. You're going through the
Mhm.
good times and the bad times. Regardless, you're going to be family,
Right.
pandemic or not. So,
Yeah.
if you can get through this, hey,
We could get
you
through,
know,
yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm up there. I'm up there TikToking and everything. I said,
yeah,
let's
that's good,
see
man.
what, see what.
That's good. I mean, I get on my youngest daughter's nerve, every now and then when I got a chance to see her and say, let's make this TikTok. She said, no, daddy.
Right.
That was a joke between me and her, but you got to, like you said, that was Mike, that's a great point, man. Shout out to all the single mothers out there listening, joining the
Definitely.
show or whatnot. We love you,
I'm a product of a single mom.
definitely. I
Love you.
understand that, so
Hmm.
those single moms out
You
there
know,
who,
Pops was still there for you, though.
Oh, Pops held me down, man. Pops come up and he came in the building. And like El Boog, even though, as we talked before, even though he wasn't there, he still made his presence felt.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
he made his
which is a
presence
good
felt.
thing.
So you still, learn from that as well. Because one thing I got to give my pops, he's always been there. Always made his presence felt as I was getting older, and so yeah, it's a beautiful thing, man. Yeah,
Man,
yeah.
think of the financial aspect, though, that some people, the stress of that some people are feeling from COVID.
Mm,
Man, I mean, I've been blessed that I had a job. I'm able to work from home, but I know some people that entrepreneurs, man. Since I known them, and they had to resort to getting jobs
yeah,
because their businesses were suffering.
Well, think
yeah,
So,
about the people with restaurants on top, the people who work at
oh
restaurants.
man,
I waited
yeah,
tables before, I bartended before. Now, if your livelihood depends upon that, man, it was
yeah,
it was done. It was just rough, man.
yeah. I mean, it's definitely. I mean, it's been a rough year. So with that being said, what's your thoughts on, speaking of the pandemic, and this is another hot topic, in our community, the vaccine and
man,
just social
You get
aspect. Are you
you
gonna
get your shot.
that's a very
You
you
get your
know?
shot.
that's a very touchy subject. I mean, we're not doctors, y'all. Um, we
We're
ain't
gonna go ahead and
telling you
go.
to get
We're
it.
gonna
No, we ain't telling you to get it. We're not telling you not to get it.
What's your thoughts on it? I mean,
Me
I hear.
personally, I want to wait. I just want to keep taking this vitamin C, this vitamin D, zinc. You know, I mean, but I don't know, man. I heard they might make. I don't know. I heard they might make it mandatory to fly and stuff like that. I don't know if that's gonna go in effect, but
Yeah, I'm
I
gonna wait.
got a feeling once Wednesday hit, like that Thursday, I think this president is going to be at full speed ahead. We're going to see a whole bunch of executive orders come in. We're going to see a bunch of because he's got a lot on his plate. I mean,
Yeah, but so the thing with the vaccine that that's I guess the vaccine got a lot of history tag to it though, and for our community. So, you know, you unfortunately you're seeing people pass away, and it's real. It's happening, and but it's unfortunately it has that stigma stuff, being experimented on and things of that nature
Mhm.
from way back. So, that's where the vaccine thing is scary in our community. But then, is it going to be one of those things where you take a chance with, do you take a chance with any small effects? Then what? Because we know one thing, the COVID, we don't know what it's going to do, but we know one end result is
Right.
death.
It's death.
So, you
yes,
know, You
Yeah,
know,
you're
so
trying to outweigh the good with the bad with that. I personally gonna wait. I'm gonna wait it out. I ain't trying to say I'm looking for people's face to slide off their head. But it's been a lot of stuff. Bell's palsy, is a side effect. Maybe the numbers are small, but regardless of the fact, I don't think it's good for me personally to jump on
yeah,
anything to put in my body that's not tested to the extent that it's like an aspirin. Aspirin is trusted,
mm,
is well regarded. We understand. It doesn't matter what type of aspirin it is. An aspirin to get rid of the headache. Now the
right,
shot is brand new. I mean, I know as
right.
black people, we love everything new. We want the new,
But,
new. We want it fresh out the box. We want it,
well,
official.
we actually no, we actually running away from the vaccine though. Actually, technically,
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
and that could be a reason why to that too. Because in the past, black people have been tested, used as
yeah,
test dummies or guinea
yeah,
pigs in order
yeah.
to, hey, just shoot them up, see what happens. And I'm not saying this vaccine is targeted on us because everybody's getting it. I mean, you see the line on
yes,
the news, people line up for hours, especially the older folks, and I feel my heart goes out to them because they're in a position they're scared. And
yes,
Right.
everybody taking probably 10, 12 pills a day, if depending on their situation. Hey, give me a shot. Who cares? And
yeah,
I can understand that. And I could definitely understand that, but everybody's gonna have to really decide, make their own decision on themselves. And somewhere down
yes.
the line, I probably would get the shot, but I'm gonna give it some time. I'm gonna see what the deal is, but that psychologically is an issue,
Hmm.
when you think about it, man. Like
It is, man. Your health
Man,
is.
man, yeah, because I know I was just thinking, man, before we got on, I was with being Martin Luther King Day, MLK, I was watching something actually on PBS, man. It was it really hit me today. About it was 1964 when they signed the Civil Rights Act, man. I was born like 10 years later, man. 10,
Yeah,
11 years later. Like that just was weird, man. It was just like made really put things in perspective of like we having I think what my wife was telling me, she heard that what they say it's like you got 400 years and then compared to 50 years, I mean it's like
mhm.
it's a
I
whole,
think the
man.
school itself was still segregated to like what 74, 75, some
Probably so.
in that time frame. So it it's still a long way to go. I mean
Long way.
that telling us that hey slavery was back in the day, it's still a lot of long lingering effects.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean
yeah, and that has a mental effect too because it's like it really like man, it hasn't been that long,
it
and
hasn't, not at all. When the year that Bush and Gore was running for president, I remember when I was staying in Atlanta and I went down to my best friend's house down in Alabama. He was staying in Birmingham at the time. And I remember watching the election and I remember showing a rule had passed that they can now um, interracial people can get married. This was just in 2000.
wow,
I was like, "Are you serious?" I was looking at him like,
That was in Alabama.
"Yes." I
Whoa.
was like, "People can't get." This was like in the year just 2000. He's like, "Yeah, people are still doing it, but it was going out of like state to do it or
wow,
something." But I was like, "That's still
Wow.
that was crazy to
wow,
me."
2000. I mean, that's just that's crazy, man. That's
Yeah,
crazy. Wow.
Because
So
it's
was
not a universal. Think about it, how the world is, and let's say the country we live in, how you can go across a border, or let's say you go from Carolina or Virginia, or you go from Alabama
yes,
to New York. The mentality is totally different. You
yes,
got two different mindsets. In New York, everybody marrying everybody.
right,
You can be anything,
yes,
do what you want to do. You go to Alabama, like you said, in 2000. I mean, people were getting, it was mixed marriages up in New York for decades, before
yeah,
I was
that's crazy. That was crazy. 2000.
2000.
yeah, yeah. Look it up, man. I was like, I
How
remember
long
watching the
you stay down
news.
there?
I'm
You need to get up out of Alabama. I
I
would have
was
stayed
like,
there.
what? I was like, that's crazy. But I know one thing that people gonna have to realize, and whether they like it or not, the United States is changing. You're gonna have to deal with.
Yeah,
You're
change.
gonna have to learn how to deal with diverse people. Um,
Sam Cooke says change is coming.
yeah,
And
I mean, Latinos are more majority than African Americans now. So I mean,
Yeah.
You better accept it or learn how to adapt to deal with people that just stay home, and
You
because
need to learn how
it,
to operate.
yeah, it's gonna happen. So
And I think that's what's bringing, and it's kind of wasn't planned to talk about, but I guess that brings up the situation at the Capitol. I think it's just an example of folks were not willing to accept that realize that they were going to become a minority, which is not a bad thing. You already got a head start. You got 400 years.
No, I think
You
oh
got a
man,
head
great
start.
point. Great point. You've
You
been you've
got
been running things. I mean, you're on the
just
currency.
relax.
I
Yeah,
think
As
those,
people say, just relax. It's okay. You'll
you
be
own
fine.
everything. You own all the best real estate. I mean,
I think those people who stormed the Capitol, they're suffering from mental health issues.
yes,
Exactly.
yes,
They need
definitely.
assistance.
I
Not
mean, you had a
necessarily.
4-year run. I mean,
But you know
Exactly.
what's funny is now if you stop to think about it, I've had this conversation with other people, and because it's not a political conversation, it's just a kind of logical. You notice how black people didn't really flip out about them doing that. We just sat back, eat popcorn, and watch the show like
yeah,
Right.
fools. So like I can't go to the post office and act a
Yeah.
fool about a stamp. I'll be
Right.
locked up, shot, and dragged
yeah,
out on the news. These
yeah,
clowns was on there. They had their 15 minutes of fame and then some, and it was just I couldn't believe it. I just
Yeah.
couldn't believe it. But they crazy, man.
Yeah,
They
that's
crazy.
example.
man.
That's
And
example.
then
That was example of mental health. They was frustrated.
and then
They
with
was
the
upset,
Yeah,
stressed
pandemic
out.
going on, all of them gathered up. I'm like, what are y'all doing?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
they said it was a revolution. You saw that one like white lady from Tennessee. We
no
stormed the
man,
Capitol. It's a revolution. Sprayed it with mace.
man,
Right.
it's not that serious, man. They were
Yeah.
some people could have really got hurt though, man. And
I think there's also some results of the pandemic as well, man. People have been cooped up, got a lot
yeah,
pent up.
I
So
think
like a whole trickle down effect, man.
unfortunately, I think that's what happened around when George Floyd had got
Mm.
murdered. I
Yeah.
think I think some of the people marching was sincere, but I think some was just frustrated of being, because wasn't we still in lockdown?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we were
Yeah.
still in
Yeah.
lockdown. So I think, but
It was the beginning. It was really the
In the
beginning.
very right at the
yeah.
beginning,
Very
I think.
beginning.
Right. Yeah. Right at the beginning.
So I just want people to be safe out there, man. And
But you
look,
know
it
what?
ain't the end of the world.
But notice
I mean,
this too. This is something I
Right.
noticed in regards to
Right.
that. When they did the protest that started from George Floyd forward, you notice how like wildfire, the mental platform for everybody worldwide was on the same accord, instantaneously.
yes,
You
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying? So
yes,
perspective of things can set. It's like lighting a match to dynamite.
Mm.
Some things is just like it was on and popping, and it is went like wildfire, man. It is
Yeah.
went like wildfire. Now that went like worldwide. It was people protesting and acting. But now flip that back to what happened here in the Capitol. We got the rest of the world looking at us like we're idiots. Look at these
Right.
fools.
yes,
Fools.
yes, yes.
Look at these fools.
And like yeah, I mean, and L, and it's kind of going back to what we were saying earlier about the COVID, I mean, the pandemic being shut in, and you made me think about something where I mean, honestly, I joke with the wife, I felt like this was and not trying to get spiritual, but I think this was God sent to happen, make people think twice, come on in, get to know your families again. So I just thought that it was I didn't think it was the end of the world, but I think we needed a moment. But I think we also exploded too at the
I
same
had
time.
people, I had people thinking it was in the world. One of my homies was like, "Man, it's gonna look like Book of Eli around here," and I was like,
Is that the Book of Eli?
"Yeah," he said it's gonna look like a book of Eli around here, and I'm like, "All right, calm down, man."
Yeah, I got mad medals around here from all my clippers and
Well,
stuff.
Yeah.
I heard that New York looks like I Am Legend. It's a
Yo,
mess.
hey, on the real,
It's
a
a
friend
mess.
of mine up in New York, that's what he told me. I was like, man, what's popping in New York? He's like, he said in his New York accent. Now he called me by my full name, Michael. Yo, man, it's like The Walking Dead up here, man.
bad, man. Homeless people taking over the trains,
Yeah.
camping out
Wow.
everywhere. Like it's bad, man.
Said the homeless taking over the trains,
Yeah,
though.
they on the train like camping out. Like you get on the train,
Yeah.
the train, bing boom, you get right back off.
Wow.
It's stinking. They up in there, laid out on the seats. Yo, the
Yeah.
police can't handle it, man.
Man,
Yeah.
I'm wondering how many businesses done closed down up there, man. Man.
Yeah, but seriously though, I mean, that's an example too. Somebody, we just joking and don't take just we just clowning up in here, but on the serious tip too, we do know that when speaking of staying on topic with the mental health, unfortunately, some of those same homeless folks are dealing with mental issues. And I know
And
we ain't got time to dive in all into that,
Right.
but
but
we
how
do know that
and the
I
thing
do
is, how do
respect
they
that
get
they do need the help that
I'm
they need.
sorry, I mean to cut you off. How do
Are
they
you good?
get their stimulus checks? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah,
They're more deserving than anybody.
Well, you know what? They're not gonna get one.
No, they're
I'm not
not.
saying it's right,
yeah,
but they're not gonna get one.
They're
And then
not.
the homeless numbers are growing because of
Yes.
pandemic. Think about that. Like you said earlier, Mike, the people who lost their jobs, some people
mhm.
they're homeless, man.
It's serious. Yeah, it's
Or
serious.
Yeah,
or
man.
or
It's
they
sad.
or they're begging because they're trying to feed their family or themselves. They're
Mhm.
probably in a place with no lights on, with no food
Right,
on, no food
right,
or no heat or whatever the case may be. Because this
right.
thing has been like a trickle down effect. You know,
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Because
so
the landlords and home, homeowners who rent their homes out, they're even saying like, man, we're suffering too because they ain't got the money to pay us.
right,
Yeah,
And y'all passed a bill that they have to, we can't evict them, but it's
yeah.
gonna be, man.
it's gonna
I
come to a
mean,
head.
think about the
Yeah.
colleges, they suffering. They're not making as much money on sports. Um,
Mhm.
a lot of college I mean tuition, not tuition, what am I looking at? Student loans,
Mhm.
Mhm.
they're deferred right now.
Mhm.
That you don't have to pay it. So a lot of financial institutions are hurting as well. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's real. So I know we kind of breezed through it. I know we're trying to start wrapping things up, but I know we was kind of talked about a little bit just a second ago. We talked about the Capitol, but the pandemic. Black Lives Matter. Can we dive into that, or that's going to be too deep?
um some people gonna be mad at me. So I'm gonna let y'all have that one.
Well,
Nah, nah, nah,
mentally,
nah. Don't try to put
mentally,
your foot around that, man.
no,
You
because
talking
remember the
I
three
mean,
cat.
I
You
have
know,
some issue. I mean, I'm with the the slogan and the movement, but the organization, I got some questions on with them.
right?
Where you're
But
getting a
but
lot
you,
of
you agree
money.
you agree with you agree with the movement and the
Yes, I
importance of
agree with
it.
the movement, but I mean, where's this money going? Um,
Mm,
I mean, who are them? I mean, do y'all would y'all notice them if y'all see them? Who's
no.
heading Black Lives Matters? I mean, are y'all gonna step up and talk on the mic, or all I'm seeing is like, what's the lawyer named Crump? All I'm seeing is him, and you know, I'm seeing a couple
yeah.
of people,
So
but
I can't yeah because honestly I haven't I can't say that I can honestly say that I did a serious like research on what all they do, but I do know that I know it is affecting us, in our community. Whereas like now you got the that black lives does matter and brown lives matter, and it goes back to, it kind of ties to what we just said earlier about you know we're becoming a majority. So, and don't worry, you got 400 years in advance. You got a head start. Don't worry about it. It seems like when you hear the Black Lives Matter, statement, it puts us in it boxes us, right? You
yeah,
know,
yeah. And
it
I
labels
know some people that have issues with it because it said it makes us sound weak.
us.
Um, like have mercy on us. I've heard
Mm,
that, but I'm all for it. But I think I would like to see the people who's ahead of that organization speak up a little bit more. Or, I
mm,
mean, at the end of the day, I mean, what's our agenda? What do we want to get out of this? You
right.
know, are we going to force politicians to pass some laws? To be tougher on police, or Are we going to force some laws? I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, what's our end game?
Mhm.
El Bull, what's your thoughts?
Well, I'm black, so my black life matters.
That's right.
I'm not, I'm not being
Yes,
selfish.
sir.
My most important black life I can think of is my own. So I'm going to support my own black life, and it does matter. But like what you said, Mike, just following aimlessly behind people who maybe don't have an organization they're not gonna fix anything. And I'm not saying they honestly speaking, when you're dealing with a monster like a government that's been doing what they've been
Yes,
doing for umpteen years and centuries, you can march all day long. I'm not saying it's wrong, but you're not going to see the results in your lifetime. You're not.
that's
Mhm.
real.
You
That's a
can't.
whole system
You
we're
can't
fighting.
change that in a couple marches. And even if 10 more people get killed like George Floyd, which is horrible, it still won't
Mhm.
change anything with 10 more marches, 20 more marches in your own lifetime. So
But they need to be done, but we got to have that understanding that we may not see. We could push the agenda, but we may not see the actual,
because
you
my
know,
my
result.
reliance, my reliance is faith, God, So I rely upon His government to rid whatever's going on because we're at a point right now. Compare an apple. If you get an apple that's rotten and you attempt to eat it and
Mhm.
you try to cut it, they find the good parts of it and it's just so rotten. Like the
Yeah,
big apples, a rotten apple.
Yes,
You just got to throw it out. And
yeah,
unfortunately, the government that we're coexisting under right now, we just putting band-aids on it every 4 years,
that's
8 years,
true.
put a band-aid on it. We had a we
Mhm.
had a fresh band-aid a couple years ago. Fresh
Yeah. We had a fresh. That was the best band aid ever.
for
You
fresh
know what
years for 8 years.
I'm
But
saying?
there were still the same type of problems that were existing. Maybe not as much at all, not prevalent. Then you put on this whack food line bandage on, and then this is what we got with the orange on his head.
Yeah.
It's what you got right now. But I know I'm going off topic, but like I said, my black life matters most to me. And if I'm near another black person who needs my help, I would give it. I would definitely give it. I
I
would give it
agree.
on site. I think that if we were to do more things on site rather than after the fact, things could be better.
Yes,
You think about
we
it.
got to be more proactive.
Proactive instead
Um,
of reactive, because a lot of
yes,
times everybody want to get together and do their thing after something pops off, but the same cats you walking with or marching with, you was probably hiding from them because they were trying to rob you or acting a fool or they want to talk to you. I
Right.
love my people, but our people also knows how our people can act.
yes,
Right.
yes. Sometimes when you get pulled over, hey, make it home.
Yeah.
Make it home. It ain't worth it. It's not
Yeah.
worth it. Make it home. You got people that love you out there. Make
Yeah.
it
No
home.
doubt.
That
No
one
doubt.
little harassment ain't worth you losing your life over, you
Yeah.
know.
That's real. That's real.
So you,
So go ahead. Go ahead. My fault. Ed. Go
nah,
ahead.
I ain't gonna dig in that no more. That's it on that.
All right.
Yeah, yeah. We can go, that'll be another topic, you know.
It's
That's it
another
on.
topic, definitely. So just to wrap things up, I think we close this chapter, at least for now. We're always gonna probably revisit something if we need to, but we discussed the components of mental health. We did the emotional. We wrapped up the psychological and social. Um, y'all have any last thoughts or takeaways from us diving into this subject?
No, I'm just best thing I can
Any,
say is there's always help. Um, uh, Suicide don't have to be the last answer. Um,
um,
we'll provide, later on, we'll provide numbers that you can get help from. There's somebody, even if you feel like you're worthless, there's always somebody out there that love you.
right.
That's
And
true.
think about the people that you hurt. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. And we've, maybe another show we'll all share our experiences when we was, feeling
Mhm.
low.
Right, right.
And that's all
And
I
we'll
can
and, we,
say.
and we'll make sure we have some resources that we found in the description of this episode. El Book.
Yeah, I think that I'm glad we finished up this topic. I know it was too big to cover in one show. I'm glad we kind of got back into it and covered some other aspects of it. Um, Everybody listening, if you feel as though we helped you out in some way or made you feel as though you're not alone in the same struggles you might be have the same struggles that we all encounter. I hope that we brought something to light or brought some humor to it or brought you a smile on your face or some encouragement. Because nobody wants to deal with something to the point that it beats you down that you don't want to exist anymore. Because you could be your worst
Yes.
enemy. You can deteriorate from the inside out. So hopefully it's something that we're doing is upbuilding. Because you
No
cats build
doubt.
me up. I hope
No
it's vice
doubt. No
versa.
doubt.
Oh,
No
definitely.
doubt.
I was
No
looking
doubt.
forward to the day, but
Yes, yes.
I recorded today.
So no doubt. So on that note, definitely come check us out again on next episode. This is part 2.
Yeah,
Fellas, I
we got
enjoyed
some
it.
more
You know
stuff
what I'm
coming.
saying?
We got some more stuff coming.
We got that heat.
You got that heat coming. If you have any topics that you think you want to hear us discuss and talk about, throw that in. Leave that in the comment box as well. The comment area, I should say. And we're gonna be on multiple platforms as well. That'll be should be in the description as well. So, thank y'all for tuning in. You know what I'm saying? I'm Alexander.
I'm Big Mike.
I'm El Boogie.